नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स। नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स। नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स। बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि, धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि, संघं शरणं गच्छामि, द्वितीयंपि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि, द्वितीयंपि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि, द्वितीयंपि संघं शरणं गच्छामि, तृतीयंपि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि, तृतीयंपि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि, तृतीयंपि संघं शरणं गच्छामि। पाणातिपाता वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समाधियामि, अदिन्नदाना वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समाधियामि, कामेषु मिच्छाचारा वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समाधियामि, मुसावादा वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समाधियामि, सुरामेरयमज्जपमादठाना वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समाधियामि, सब्बपापस्य अकरणं कुशलस्य उपसम्पदा, सचित्तपरियोधपणम् एतं बुद्धान् शासनं। साधु साधु साधु।
Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Napare Samyomani Napare Samkata Katang Attanava Avekkeya Katani Akatani Cha. Dear friends of Dhamma, this evening you are here. Your weekly programs during this Vassana retreat. There are 3 months you invited monks to observe Vassana retreat in July full moon day, sometime in July, one of those weekends. So from that, it continues to up to October full moon day. Then afterward comes the Katina Chiva offering month, what we call as Chiva, month of Chiva. So during this time, the practitioners, they gather in the temple and engage in activities. It's the summertime, that's the time that you have. So normally, so we're supposed to do engage in activities, spiritual practices in whenever possible. But in our culture, that part of the world, people have using this 3 months special for them. As we're thinking of Punya Kala, time period of to make merry. Every day we should make merry. So every day should be our practical day. So, but however, it's a nice thing that all of you get together and engage in these activities, sharing time, showing these kind of things with children who are growing up here too. So all these things are good things. So even offering, as I mentioned earlier, this is a good practice. Our mind get engaged in activity, which is free from greed, hatred, and lust. That's the good part of this practice. Now I was reciting Gatha to just to share a few thoughts about Dhamma. I may not take 1 hour, but lesser than that. Let's look at it. Napare Sanvidomani Napare Sankapara. These are the words by the Buddha. We are not supposed to look at what others didn't do. But instead, Buddha encourages us to look at what you did and not done yet. What is missing in our path. So in other words, simply if he's saying that mind on your business, not look at other people, right? Right? Simply that's what he's saying. The reason behind that was, sometimes we all have weaknesses. One particular person did some wrongdoings, and person who, practitioner, one of the practitioners, concerned about that, and she missed the opportunity of listening to Dhamma. That is where he, gave this advice. So let them do whatever they are doing. That's their karma or something that they accumulate for themselves. Don't worry about that. Sometimes we do worry about it because out of compassion. So we try to correct other people. But so in that opportunity, he was encouraging the person, focus on what you are here now. Focus on when you are. Focus on what you are doing. So that person's anger is over because another person was angry and cursing at someone, and went away from the place. He was cursing the Buddha, he was cursing the people because of his unhappiness. So in the Dhamma wise, every day we can practice Dhamma. Everything around us is part of Dhamma. What we have to do is mindfulness. Be mindful. Very important, nothing else. So Buddha encouraged us to be mindful. So he mentioned that there's only one way. Addressing monks, he said, monks, there's only one way for us to purify ourselves. Being mindful. Having compassion. You have compassion to you and you have compassion to other people. So those are things that we have to practice. There are plenty of things for us to practice in our everyday life. So, but we can do that if we are mindful. Otherwise, we have so many opportunities to practice the Dhamma, we miss them. Like that he was advising to those the people at that time that he was reciting the Gatha. And why do we lose the opportunity? We can use the opportunities at your home. Children are there, husband is there, wife is there. So being mindful, of course we see other people, some weaknesses we can see around, but we should not get upset about it. We have to develop compassion. Developing compassion, we can help them to correct themselves. So that way, that's out of compassion we do. What happened to us, suppose now, husband and wife, or husband and wife, parents and children. When children do something, of course children are children, so they make mistakes. So we can correct them. But suppose husband and wife at home, if you see something, some weak behaviors, then what you can do is, instead of getting upset and angry and scream at other person, to your spouse, what you can do is you can just observe. Be an observer. When you become an observer, what you do is you will be noticing and determining to yourself, we have to be non-judgmental too. And so each one of our capacities are different. Seeing the different capacities with understanding, we can bring the attention of our spouse to correct at the appropriate time. Not always. So that's what we have to be. If we are good practitioners, that's what we will be doing. And because we have to be, all these things are very delicate. How our mind works is very delicate. See, that is the reason why Buddha was such a long time in this cycle of life and samsara. Buddha mentioned that, addressing monks, you and I have been here uncountable time. Uncountable time. We cannot see the beginning, we cannot see the end of this. Why? Since we did not see the we don't have got many years of lifetime stories, but simply think, can we be nicer people? To us and happiness to these children, happiness to the people around us. So when we think too much what happens, we get confused. So he encouraged us to, when we are living, now we are in 3 different ways we are active: physically, mentally, and vocally. Now, verbal actions. In the morning I was sharing with children, if they are wrong, doing is 4. Here in this culture only two. Lie and gossip. But here in Buddha's time, they had 4 kinds of mistakes. Lying to deceive other people, and spreading rumors about other people, making stories about other people, what we call as Pisuna Vacha, Parusha Vacha, rude or harsh language, and gossip, Sampapala. These are the 4 kinds. What Buddha taught us was, observe noble silence, speak the truth. If you don't have to speak, observe noble silence. It's a hard work. It's a very hard thing, I think, for many of us. If you don't talk, maybe then you feel like they are angry. So that's why it's hard. Communication is important, of course, but it's necessary. Everything he said was moderation. Important thing is moderation. If not, we create karmas. Verbal actions, we create karmas. But if we speak the truth, discuss the Dhamma, that would something benefit for us. That kind of discussions, you can carry on. But otherwise what happens? Harsh, rude, abusive language, none of us are going to benefit. That is definitely what is making is unhappy, create conflicts among us. So we can see that benefit of staying away from that. And Dhamma, we can benefit. We learn from each other. Then we start thinking of Dhamma. So we create a positive environment for us to live. So no arguments, nothing, but out of compassion we are spreading good words, good vibration. So that Buddha encouraged. And physical actions, we put into 3 categories. What are they? Killing. First precept we were observing, not to kill or harm any living being. Second is not to steal anything or share whatever we have to share with others. And number 3, of course, our sensual desires, we have to moderation, give some moderation. So sensual type, 5 senses, we are always looking for pleasing them, so we have to be moderating those. So those actions could be produce negative or positive karmas for us. Anything that to gratify ourselves, if we do or say, that produces karmas. And mentally, what we have? We have mental qualities, we have the avidya domanas, greed, hatred, and ignorance, these kind of negative emotions. So we have to liberate from these ourselves by practicing. Instead of greed, of course, what we call as Nekkhamma Sangha, when we learn about deep of the teaching of the Buddha, these thoughts of renunciation, letting go. And instead of holding on to this greed or hatred, we have to liberate our minds from these minds. Whatever the situation is, we have to liberate our minds from this. So, this, what we call stay away from all evil, do good, physical and mental, and purification of our mind is the thing that he encouraged. Mental purification is we can do by practicing meditation that help us to see ourselves. So this is not easy, as we say, difficult task, but he was encouraging. One day, King Mahanama went to the Buddha, like this kind of season. He went to see the Buddha because retreat was over and monks were preparing robes for, the story says, monks were preparing robes for the Buddha, and once they finished, Buddha was going to go away. You know that was the tradition at the time. 3 months they were staying one place, then start going around the teachings or visiting other places. So Buddha was getting ready, and these people in the town were talking about this. Buddha is going to go away. So even the king at the time, Hana, not somebody else from same Sakya clan, so he was rushing to see the Buddha. He was rushing to see him, and before Buddha goes, he wanted to ask him some questions. So he went and explained it to Buddha. Now, there are several discourses, very helpful for us, and you all can read it. There's one site, what we call access to insight. If you go to that, you can see the Tripitaka there. And this particular discourse comes in two different places. There are three discourses to Mahanama, actually four discourses to Mahanama, three comes in the Anguttara Nikaya, numericals, and one comes in the Samyutta Nikaya. So that's in English, so you can read it and understand. So Mahanama goes and asks the Buddha, you know, we are busy people. Of course, Buddha knew that, right? He himself was supposed to be the king, right? Ruler. He was trained for it. He had experience with that, you know, being in the palace. So Mahanama came and asked him, how should I live my life? What could be better way to, because before Buddha goes, you're going to get some advices. So he encouraged him to think of the Buddha. Why? Is that because he's his brother, cousin brother? No. Just to maintain the purity of the mind, he encouraged him to do that. You know, we have learned something called Buddhanasati. Very simple. What I'm sharing with you is that's something that you can do in everyday life. We always recite, I think you heard now in Pali, we were reciting paying respect to the Itipiso, Bhagava, Arahant, Samma, some of those things. There are 9 qualities of the Buddha. Many qualities, they put into 9 categories. There are deeper books have written on one quality. There's in our culture, we have one book called Pujavaliya, in appreciating his quality called Arahant. Why we call Arahant? Kiratin Pujavaliya. So, he was not because just to his, he was not with the arrogant nature or pride that he was teaching this. Buddha did not have it. If he had that pride, definitely he would, as I mentioned earlier, I like to share with you this. Buddha, when he was visiting his town, he visited his palace. Nobody invited him for lunch, right? That you have learned it. You learn it when you were children in Dhamma school or in our school also, with this life story. So what did he do? Took the alms bowl and went collecting food. Just his palace is there, but he didn't go. So if he had a pride, would he do that? Collecting from, going from home to home? No. So these are things that we have to look at. He definitely was a very humble person. Even though he grew up as a royal prince, he described himself in one of the sutras that he had so much of wealth, so much of luxuries that his father provided. Yet he did not confine to those things. He gave up and went. Because he had practice, therefore he could do it. He had practiced in the past to be the Buddha. That's his mission. He came to this world to become an enlightened being and find the path of happiness and share with them. For that purpose he came. So therefore, that was his mission. And now he was encouraging Mahanama to think of the Buddha. These 9 qualities. We learn from our parents, from our child, even when we are afraid of something, recite Sogata, right? So why? They have qualities of the Buddha if we can is reminded. But when we think of the Buddha, our minds are free from greed, free from hatred, free from ignorance. So that way, it maintains the purity of our mind. So that's the reason why he encouraged. Then he has encouraged, reflect on the Dhamma. Swakhato Bhagavata Dhamma. Will expound the Dhamma, 6 qualities of the Dhamma. Then he gave me advice to Mahanama. Think of Sangha. How many qualities are there? 9 qualities. 9 qualities of the Buddha, 6 qualities of the Dhamma, again 9 qualities of the Sangha. So when we think of it, so we have learned those qualities, not only Pali Gatha, but really we have learned what are these really. So when we think of them, so we have so much of compassion in a way to gain these qualities, so they work for it. They work hard for it. Spiritual, purifying their mind, purifying his mind. He did work many lifetimes. So during those lifetimes, so he was working towards, because why is that long time? Because all his teaching is geared towards purifying our minds. Our mind is the most difficult thing to purify. Right? Training. We have to train ourselves. So this is why it took such a long time for Buddha to become enlightened being. But we have advantage. We have all the recipes, what he found. But now, if we are ready, we have to practice. It's not that easy. We can do it, but what we are doing, we are postponing. Our minds are not ready yet. Remember, there was a man during Buddha's time when Buddha, the first man who met him, when Buddha was walking away from the Gaya, when he decided to go and teach, he was going to Benares because he saw those 5 ascetics were there, and he was set his mind to go. On the way, he meet a man. I don't know if any of you remember. Upaka. Ajil, remember? Upaka started coming. So seeing Upaka, what he said was, oh, beautiful. This young man, very pleasant, very attractive. So he asked questions. Who are you? Your appearance is so pleasant, so beautiful. It's very attractive, very peaceful. Who are you? Asked all sorts of questions. And Buddha answered him, and it's called Ananta Jina, the victorious one. In the sense of thinking of that he worked out all the defilements. Now he's very happy. Buddha was happy. That happiness was something that reflecting. So he was, Buddha was very happy seeing, because very fresh, very free mind, joyful mind, he reflected it. But what happened to Buddha? Did he stay back? Do you remember? That's all what his conversation was. First man to meet, other than those two merchants. There was 2 merchants who offer him popcorn, not popcorn, rice corn, right? And the honey. After that, this is the first man who met on his way But he had no such, what do we call it, luck to listen to him. He didn't engage with him. Or it could be so he nodded and went to it. See, sometimes when we think of that, we are like, we hear, we know the Dhamma, but we are so busy. I think we have to develop something for us. We are very happy we are that human beings. We are Buddhist, we have Dharma. So what are the benefits that we have taken? So we have to start thinking about it. We are, day by day, we are aging ourselves. So therefore, we have, all of us, have to think about it. No, I'm not asking you to give up what you're doing, but be mindful. Being mindful, you can develop some beneficial, organize yourself. Organize ourselves. Because if you become too busy, what happens? Too busy person cannot do anything. That's why in the Karnima Sutta, you hear the word Appakicca Salluppavati. Appakicca means less activities. Your engagement you should make less. Since we have so many engagement, we have no time. Otherwise, we can make ourselves. So think of it, and how can we benefit from this opportunity that we have? So thinking, then we have to well organize, at least some time for us. Then you can, just personal time. We all need some personal time. And then we can invest that for our own benefit. So that's a discipline. So this is what he was asking us to do. Training, practicing, so benefiting from the Dhamma. So then he was encouraging, so these three things. Not only that. He advised Mahana to think of his own practices, what he has done good. Chaga also. See how many things that you have. Chaga means your practice, your generosity. Chaga, dana. So all these Buddhist practitioners, they always give dana. Reflect on those things. You have done, and you have to think about it. It's a very interesting story. If any of you read Midland saying, there is Vitakka Santana Sutta, number 19 and 20, Veda Vitakka Sutta and Vitakka Santana Sutta. Beautiful sutras. We don't need so much, all these to read. See, Mahanama Suttas are very important. So advise what he has given. And these Vitakka Santana and Veda Vitakka Suttas are very important too. So he shares with us. He is saying, before I become enlightened being, this is what I did. Those are guidelines. Actually, this is what Vipassana means. We hear about Vipassana, and nowadays so many Vipassana centers and all these things. It is not just to see this, sit down and do this. See, he speak about himself. He saw what is happening in his mind. And then he put it in two categories. Good thoughts, bad thoughts. He wrote it down we can write it down now, whatever the thoughts that came into my mind. Put it into two categories, we can see it. Some of these are nice thoughts, some of them are bad thoughts. Nobody is benefiting from it. So therefore, if we can see it, so that is what Vipassana, insight. You see within you what all is popping up due to some reasons. Maybe when eye contact or something, that creates some effect. When my ear contact the sound, that creates another emotion. Likewise, throughout the day, what is happening within us, so many things are, so many thoughts are arising in our minds. If we could remember, put them down on paper, we can see it ourselves. This is insight. Then, okay, I have to be mindful now. I should not do this kind of thoughts. For example, let's say, if I have a jealousy feeling towards someone, seeing my colleague, my friend, let's say my monk, other monks, we are living together. Sometimes I make jealousy feeling could arise. Then I can ask when I see, if I do meditation, I can see myself. Oh, this is jealous, so I should keep on continuing this practice. This is not a good emotion. This is what Buddha told. So I can apply the Dharma in myself and work it out. So this is what we're supposed to do. Not just listening and going away. No, we have to retain the Dhamma and use it. Dharma is we listen it, keep it in our mind, and we analyze it and practice it. Not just to ignore it, not just to entertain it. Dharma is for us to learn and retain and use it every day. So, in Vitakka Sutta, then he says, we can, suppose now I have not done any good things in my life, but there are tiny bit of things that I have done. You think about it. I'm connected with the Chaganusati, the generosity that Buddha was encouraging Mahanama to practice. So that little thing that you have done, think over and over and over and over, make it big. Buddha says, why? How can we do that? Because you are avoiding the time when you are thinking over it, same thing again and again and again, good things that you are maintaining in your mind. So opportunity of arising negative thoughts are lesser. Now you are habitually developing positive thought, good thought. He has given a simile. Read it in Vitakka Sutta in the middle, and you can read it online too. He says, like a carpenter or his apprentice, he found a huge log. As a carpenter, he can benefit from it. But what happened? There's a huge nail stuck in that. So therefore, he cannot use it. Now, what he has to do? So if you don't have proper tool, this carpenter would be taking small nail, maybe a pin. So you can touch it. Slowly, but we have to have patience to do this. With all these qualities, then patiently you are touching it. Problem with us is we are very impatient. Right? We want to do. So we learn it afternoon making these things. All these things are for us to learn, remember. So small pin, you can touch it. Slowly. If you do that with patience, of course there may be other places, but just as for example of how Buddha said it. Touch it, tap it slowly. Then when you do that, what happens? Even though that was a small nail, you could do it, and you can remove that huge nail which got stuck there. Then afterwards carpenter can benefit. Very same way, he says, the small thing that you have done, good, small positive thing you did, reflect on it again and again and again. Anusati, this is called Anusati, Bhavana. So cultivate your mind on it. So that becomes stronger, that becomes big. So that way, he encouraged Mahanama to practice your own thing. Buddha-anusati, Dhamma-anusati. Anusati means reflection on Buddha, reflection on Dhamma, reflection on Sangha, reflection on your own practices, good things that you have done. Not only that, he also says Devata-anusati. How is that happening? What is that going to be done? About divine beings. We may not have experience divine beings. Yet, Buddha speaks about them. Divine in the sense of doing good deeds after our death. If that is a good person, good practitioner, maybe he is supposed to get a higher level of life. So these are natural things, not that he is doing something, but these natural. So when we think of those, so that is because being is a nicer person. So, sometimes in stories, middle of the night, Devas coming to visit the Buddha and ask questions. Those kind of stories are there. I don't say those are not true because some people maybe not believe in those things. How can those things happen? We don't know. According to Buddha's teaching, there are 31 planes of existence. So those realms should be people. I don't know what the nature of that world systems are. But can I say no? What do I know about? I don't have the knowledge that Buddha had. We don't have it, right? So we cannot therefore deny it. So we still keep going with what he's doing. So leave behind and what we can take and practice. So there are things that we can practice and we see practical is valuable. So like this example, your reflection on what we have done is practically we can do if we are mindful. So above all, key is the mindfulness that we have remembered. And having that, then we reflecting on these things and then we working on. So Buddha encouraged Mahanama to live your life, righteous life, practicing this way, then you will be a person who can benefit from teachings, the Dhamma. Buddha always taught what he saw out of compassion for the benefit of people. There are so much of things, so many things but for us to practice, we don't need that much to know. What we learn if we can practice, we are collecting knowledge. What's happening is that we read, collect, and we don't put into practice. So what we're supposed to do is, we definitely, all of us, thinking we are so fortunate people, Dharma is there. So if we can practice, execute this Dharma in our day-to-day life, then we can benefit from this. So therefore, we have to set our minds for it. Without setting, we won't be able to do it. If we are seeking the Dharma as entertainment, we are not going to benefit from that. Because that's also another desire. You are trying to please your sense of auditory. Mostly when we look at these things, otherwise, we are not far away from Dharma. Those days, in Dhamma, there's something called suitable, what do you call it? Patirupa Desa Vasocha. What do you think about this place? Is it not Patirupa Desa Vasa? Suitable vicinity, suitable place to live? No, it is. Because now Dharma is available. Being here, you every day listen more than Dhamma when you were in Sri Lanka. Who came from Sri Lanka, right? Aren't you listening? Using internet? There are many people, they listen every day. Those days when we are living amongst temples somewhere else, we are somewhere else, we don't get to hear that much of Dhamma. Only when we have Wednesday and Sundays, in the radio we have Dhamma in the talks. That's all that we have. But now, look at it. We are far away, living from out of that country and living here. But still you are listening. Every day, so many. But what benefit of that if we are not practicing? Listening is nice, but so at least your mind would be at work if you are really listening very keenly. So definitely we are not in an unsuitable place. Very suitable place you are in because world has progressed technologically. Resources are there. We can listen to Dhamma. We have to put ourselves into practice. So we have to determine. Without determination, we cannot do it. Set our minds, determine to practice. That way we can benefit. Otherwise, we are Buddhist. We will all be like Upaka. right? Upaka, he ignored and he went away. But later on, after so many years, having met, that day where did he go was to see his girlfriend. Yes, truly, he went, he went for his girlfriend, he got married, and what happened after having children? So, maybe for some reasons, they had also some arguments with me. She was using lullaby, insulting her husband. Something, so that made him unhappy. So, as a frustrated person, he comes back to the Buddha. So we definitely, we have to determine ourselves how can we benefit from, where to benefit from this Dhamma. Dhamma is so much of valuable, so many things are there, we can use them. So we have to see at our own weaknesses what we have, not somebody else's. The paresan vidomani. So we have, maybe we see things, we don't have to pay attention to that or make effort to correct. So just focus on what I could do and what couldn't do. Then we can correct ourselves and benefit from the Dhamma and what Buddha taught. So then we will be very fortunate people who really benefited from what Buddha taught. So that's the advice, or just some few thoughts for you to think about and benefit from the Dhamma. So that way, we all can be successful people in spiritual. So we all have two sides of our brain. You have that? Spiritual side and material side. So this is the only way to balance also. While balancing it, being mindfulness is key. Don't forget that. Buddha himself mentioned that Ekayanuam bhikkhave maggo sattanam visuddhya. So this is the word of the Buddha. For the purification of beings, only thing that you have to do is be mindful. It's hard work, not easy. But if we train ourselves, then we can do it. For that training, maybe you have to spend 5-10 minutes a day practicing your meditation. You don't have to sit on the floor, you can sit on your seat and do it. Or if you like, you can get onto the cushion and sit on the floor. Because some different practice, it keeps your mind get engaged. So that could be helpful. So you all can practice, start doing it. So teaching is so beautiful. Things are there that you may not be able to go with. Leave them behind. Like for example, if you read the Samyutta Nikaya, certain things you may not want to go with those. Brahma Samyutta. Many Brahmanas are coming to this world. Say the Buddha. So certain things may be kind of doubtful, but we don't have to worry about it. So Buddha said those things. Could be some reasons for this, but we cannot see. Are there not Brahma realms that where the Brahmanas are? In Anguttara Nikaya, if you read the numericals, there is one, I cannot remember the name of it, but according to that, closest realm to our world is that kind of existence. Our time, our 100 years is only 2 days in that. If you work it out, in that particular discourse he mentioned, so they have 30 days, they have continuous 30 days and 12 months, and lifespan is 500 years. So if you really count that number, it's about 9 million. Our time here in that particular world. When we think of it, when you think of it, so if you were to born in those kind of realms, you miss the opportunity even seeing, even though you are wishing for, aspiring for, to see the Maitreya Buddha, right? Sometimes we have such aspirations. May I have opportunity to see the Maitreya Buddha and attain enlightenment. If you have that kind of wish, even that would be missing. If you are not tuned into that, we may miss that opportunity. But we hear when Buddha was teaching, setting his first Dhamma Sutta, there are millions of devas in Brahmas in Buddhism. So I cannot deny all these stories because I cannot say it. But if they are coming in, the teachings, there's something for us to think about. That kind of metaphysical world also there. But that is not the important part. The Dhamma that is told for us to practice. So I mentioned about, you can read these things. Mahanama Sutta. I mentioned about Veda Vitakka Sutta, number 19. And I mentioned about Vitakka Santana Sutta. Read them. Because they are the tip of your fingers. You go to, even at your work. Even if you are allowed to use internet, so you can find them and read them. No, I think once a week, or you can organize yourself. And if you do it, definitely you are going to benefit from that. That firm determination is the thing we're in. Then we can organize ourselves. Then we can find it. Not just going to temple in weekends or whenever we have opportunities, but be at home. So, what else can I share? Buddha's teaching is existing. We are human beings. We are in touch with Buddhism, right? I don't like to call it Buddhism Dharma. Buddha did not teach Buddhism. Buddha told them. Buddha did not teach the Buddhists. Buddha told the people who is being practice. So that's anybody can practice that his teaching. So we have to appreciate what he left for us. That was a great dedication. The result of his great dedication. Out of compassion was doing this. He was asked, I was reading to the children. So he says, to advise the monks, he said, monks, you can do this. If you cannot do this, I will not ask you to do it. It doesn't hurt you. It is not painful. If it is painful, I will not say. Remember, I was reading. So just imagine how much compassion did he have. He had so much of compassion. Like a father, like a parent, pushing their child to do something nice. He was asking us to do this. So therefore, don't ignore the treasure that we have. That's a treasure. Not all these materials that we are collecting. So therefore, learn and use that opportunity and make ourselves better human beings and better opportunity that we have for this world as well as better this world as well as the world. So this is what I'm going to share for this evening. I think that is good enough for us to encourage ourselves, find our path of happiness, our liberation, our freedom, to break our bonds that we have. We are bonded. Like scientists, you can break it. Otherwise, what happens? We are back. As far as we are not working to break those bonds, because bonds we are nothing else. Our attachments keep us from bringing back to this. Our partners, we are creating partners. What Buddha says? Punya and Papa both, we have to eradicate. Right? Punya and Papa. Even though you do good things, what are you doing? You are accumulating good karmas. If you karma, what are you accumulating? Negative karmas. Both of these are minus and pluses. Goes in the same line. We see here in the Western world is a linear, but here we see it as a circular. What is that? What is happening? Your maybe positives and negatives go different directions. Keep going. We are keep accumulating. As far as we have karmas, we keep going. But definitely what you have to do is purification. Liberate our mind from all these bonds. So it's not easy as we say, but if we practice, we can do. It's very important. Letting go of all this. Ask what's the meaning of this. I think we do some to a certain level of your doing. See how when you are cleaning up your closets, what is happening. I don't know if you're keeping it here and then again in the corner, but sometimes if you have courage, okay, I don't need that. Right? Things like that. Wow. Attachment is the thing that we don't really throw away because somebody can benefit from this. Some people can use this, so then we taking away from this end of the closet and the other end of the closet. Right? Because that's nature. Those are part of nature. But these things, these are habits. These habits we have to break. Difficult, but we have to push ourselves. So this one does it. If we do that, see how he did that. He's the wrong one. So there's a wrong one for us. So if you read, of course we know his life story, he left his home. Why his parents were crying, even though you learn differently. In the text it says, why his relatives were crying, he, shaving his head, wearing a yellow robe, he went away from his palace. That comes in a couple of discourses. So he did what? He was ready because he practiced. Remember, something all those things are practiced or done, letting go. So that made it easy for him. For us, we are still bonded. We are bonded because of children, we are bonded because of parents. So things are to practice with understanding. Our mind has so much attachment that we are glued to. Now we have to let go. Slowly remove those layers of those attachments. So that way, maybe one day we can. Not maybe, we have to keep our aspiration, our determination, and work at it. That's the only way to break this cycle. Otherwise, we are forever here. Uncomfortable time. We have been uncomfortable times, and we will become to do that same thing. But we have to look at it. How can we guarantee that we are going to be here in this world system? And as this same form. It's difficult to say. Because with this story, if you like to see another discourse called Vihara, that's also coming in and Lutheran time. Read. In that one, it says about how he has been, eons and eons, how he has been. I believe that's his works. Nobody else's. So that's why he said it's such a long time period. I don't know if that is. He's not talking about saying no assistance. According to cosmology, also there are differences. Verses cannot happen, appearing and disappearing, even though some millions of years, even the scientists are talking about those things. Things are happening. Yet we, as living according to karmas, so these beings are going through these many cycles. So this is all these thoughts we are picking up from the teachings of the Buddha, and we have to educate ourselves in those areas in the Dhamma and practice by practicing. We don't need so much, the 84,000 sutras for us to, enlighten ourselves. But what we know, if we put into practice, definitely we are able to achieve certain level. So we have to do it ourselves, not somebody else. Somebody else cannot do it for us. That's what Buddha said. Buddhists are all just showing the path. So, this evening, coming all of you together, some of you are from morning to here because of children. That's also a great education. All these things are producing good meritorious karmas. But collecting karmas is not the purpose of our life. Educating ourselves and liberating ourselves. So that is what we taught. So therefore, you can be happy being here together with other Kalyan Mitas. So we are very fortunate to have good Kalyan Mitas, and this evening we all sponsors Chitratna and Chanana, Shavik Punaratna, Kimali Atarage, thinking of Teja Vikramasinghe, the mother, and also all other relatives, right? Thinking of them, you want to dedicate this to them. And Mr. Damit Kuduvarage, thinking of Sumana Gunratna, grandmother, and also all other relatives. And also Lambert the Silva, Kutma Silva, Sumana Balaprandi. These are the relatives that we are thinking of. We all have people connected to our lives. If there anybody who is expecting any kind of spiritual help, so may they rejoice. All these meritorious deeds that we did this evening, coming to observe precepts, being in the virtuous foundation, we offer the Vilampas of the Buddha in his virtuousness, and reflecting on the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha they are image, and listen to at least a little time, spending some time thinking of Dhamma, maintain purity of our mind. We definitely develop our wholesomeness, our good karmas. May all this good wholesomeness that we develop, we share with those people that you are thinking of. If they are expecting any kind of spiritual help, may they rejoice for this wholesomeness, may they all attain ultimate peace and happiness of Nibbana. And may all our relatives and friends, family members, be well, happy, and peaceful. May we all have strength and courage to understand these teachings and find our own happiness and peace, liberate ourselves from the samsaric cycle, and may we attain ultimate happiness of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.